Well, hello there and welcome to the studio. My name is Matthew Palmer, and today we're going to be painting in a wonderful mountainous landscape kind of scene, maybe a bit of lake in there. Don't really know because we're going to be working from the old noggin. Yes, Matthew's noggin, that's where we're going to be going in this little virtual world. So let's just have a look at some materials. So if we have a look here, we've got the palette, which I've got my colours squirted into now. I'll be honest, you can pretty much use just the colours, the primary colours if you want to. Got various brushes here. Look at all these. You need all these. Where's your light coming from? You don't need all these. Did you wet it? You don't need all these brushes. You just need 3 basic brushes. So we've got a large brush, which is a size 20. We've got a medium, which is a size 10, and a small, which is a 6. Now, those 3 brushes would be great starting point for anybody. I've got my own flavour of brushes. They're called Matthew Palmer Super Points. If you've not got those, it doesn't really matter. But large, medium, small, 20, 10 and 6 roughly. Got a few other bits of my own colours squirted out here. I'll talk about the colours as we go through the demo. I've got a coin wrapped in tissue. It's an English 10p piece wrapped in some kitchen paper. That's quite useful if I do a bit of a sun or moon effect on this. And we've also got a plastic card. Got plenty of water, which you can see just at the side of the screen there. Got some kitchen paper as well. I might use other brushes, might use other little bits and pieces for this. As far as the paper's concerned, we've got this sheet of watercolour paper here, which is roughly 1/4 imperial. That's the size, 11 by 15 inch. It's a knot surface, NOT surface, and I've stuck it to a board with a bit of a tilt. So what you can do is pop your masking tape under the top of the board to get a bit of a slope on it. And working from imagination is quite a nice thing to do, I'll be honest with you. It's a good thing to do. So if you're brand new to painting, do try this one actually out. It's something nice to try. So we're going to go straight into this and paint in some kind of a sky. So it's quite an interesting thing there. We're going to be going in and putting the paint on and just creating something from nothing, hopefully not a mess. No, obviously not. So here we've got the palette so we can see what we're doing as far as mixes are concerned. But the first job is to just simply use water, and I'm going to wet the paper. It's a cotton paper, this, 100% cotton, roughly 11 by 15 inch. Wetting the page probably twice would be good enough for this one. And we're going to go a little bit dramatic with this, I think. So even now, as I'm putting the water on, I don't know what kind of picture I'm doing. All I know is it's going to be some kind of mountainous scene, if I'm honest. And we'll wet it all the way through. That's had a good coat of water. I've got the big brush. And then as far as colour mixing is concerned, let's just go straight in with this. So what colour do we want to go for here? Thinking a bit of an orange. So I've got some of this colour, which you can just make out of the screen there is natural orange. We'll take some of that. That's a beautiful colour. You can see it's quite strong. It's on the brush here. Look, big brush. You can see it on the tip of the brush there. And literally I'm going to sweep it across. Natural orange, beautiful colour. We'll work that down. Don't be afraid to be quite heavy with the colour as you do this. It's a yellowy orange, more towards a yellow than a red would be. Sweep it in, and then we'll get some big sort of bands of light coming in. So notice the horizontal changing to almost a diagonal. That was quite a nice thing to do there. Quite enjoyed doing that. We could make the colour a little bit stronger as well here. Add in a wee bit more. Perfect. I love putting big skies on. I mean, even now at this point, I don't know what's happening with this. I've got no idea how the painting is going to progress, where it's going to go, that kind of thing. Clean the brush in the water pot, still with the big brush here. I think we're going to go for violet. So I've got some a colour here called natural violet. And you know you can mix these colours from primary colours if you want to. But I'm going to use natural violet. And use it quite strong. It's quite a deep colour. You can see that lovely violet there. Just give it a bit of a wipe on tissue. That does help to do that. And then across the top, look at that vibrancy right there. Beautiful, beautiful. Cross the brush over, leave some gaps, let the paint mix right down to the bottom. And then again, just wipe off that excess. Get your brush a little bit flat and just let it smooth in, let it become part of that colour. Beautiful. Look at this. beautiful. Look how the paint's running down there. That is gorgeous. Bloody gorgeous it is. Beautiful, beautiful. Like it. I like it. I'm going to put that brush away. Put that down. And I'm going to grab a size 10 brush or the medium super point brush. And I'm going to use some red. Yes, we're going to put some natural red or some kind of a deep red. And that's a good red. Look at that beautiful bit of colour. Wipe it on the tissue. Always important. And then we are going to add a little bit of a streak of red in this sky here. So it's looking like a bit of an evening vibe. Bring that down. I've gone for more of a horizontal, because this might end up being a lake or something in this. I'm not sure yet until we do it. It's all part of the fun. Look how it mixes. How you get that purple coming through there. Oh, it's good. We've got this coin wrapped in tissue here, and we're going to stamp it around here. Press it firmly. There's your sun. You see the paint's come off of the kitchen paper there. Beautiful. Now, we can be a little bit more in control of this by taking a bit more of that red and mix it with a bit of the violet. So it makes a deep purple. Can't beat a bit of deep purple. What we've got is this deep purple colour. Got the kitchen paper to wipe it on. You can see that here, look. And we're going to put some little clouds in this thing now. Well, big clouds actually. We'll put these in. And we're going to twist the brush. Can't go wrong with this. The strength in colour is quite important here, because that's what gives you the lovely effect of the sky. We'll add more to this as we progress. Keep picking a bit of the colour up on the tissue. Do one over here. Maybe a small one in the centre there, but all the time like a little bit of a tap on tissue. It's quite important. You sort of roll in the brush, and then even just a smaller one. But honestly, I can't say how much of a difference it makes giving it a little tickle on tissue before you apply it to your paper. And then what we'll do is we'll clean the brush really well, give it a bit of a squeeze. Squeeze it, and even get your brush into it so it's going a bit flat. And then what we'll do here is we'll go for some highlights. I'm literally dragging the brush through the sky there, just giving it a nice soften, although the sun is illuminating the bottom of the clouds. I'm wiping it through my fingers. You can see me doing it every time I lift it up. The smaller ones doesn't need to be quite so important to do the lift. That's good, isn't it? That I like that. It's addictive. Look how it just illuminates it. It's the sun is capturing it. What a beautiful sky. So we've already painted that lovely sunset. Nice. Now that needs a bit of time to dry, so I'm going to go and use a hairdryer, and I'll be back shortly. Today's video is sponsored by Connect Fibre, providing me with wonderful broadband, full fibre broadband up to 1000 megabits per second. Check out the description below, because we're going to give you £60 credit via that link. The only place you're going to get it. Check it out below. If you're looking for a broadband provider who offers both speed and reliability, look no further than Connect Fibre, a leading provider of full fibre broadband who specialise in faster, fairer and flawless internet connections. With Connect Fibre, there are 4 great packages to choose from. If you're after the ultimate in hyperfast broadband, the hypersonic package is perfect for you, with amazing speeds of up to 1000 megabits per second at an affordable price, ensuring seamless streaming, ultra-fast upload and download speed. There's also Connect Fibre TV, which can be added to the hypersonic package. The TV features hours of on-demand streaming services. As well as the TV, there's the phone and mesh service available too. The services are currently available in Bolsover, as well as other parts of Derbyshire, Cambridgeshire, Essex, Nottinghamshire and Yorkshire. Connect Fibre, faster, fairer, flawless broadband connections for you. visit connectfibre.co.uk to check out all the information you need and get that link below, because remember, we're going to give you £60 in credit via that link. Let's crack on. All nice and dry there, so I've just used a hairdryer to give that a blast with the dryer. That's come out nice and it's ready to go. So it's not perfectly 100% dry, but it's dry enough to work on. If I give it a bit of a tap, I can feel it's a little bit cold, so I just use a heat gun or a hairdryer, obviously being careful around water. But that's great. So I want to paint in some sort of mountains here and create an effect. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to take a little bit of masking tape here, long enough to go across the painting, remove the stickiness from it. That's important. Do a good job of wiping stickiness off. Stick it to the table, lift it up, that kind of thing. That should do a good job. But as long as you've got a clean edge, we can pop this probably about here, about there somewhere. So it's probably a little bit less than a quarter of the way up. That should work quite well. Like I say, it's not perfectly dry, but it's dry enough to touch, and that's the thing that is quite important here. So if we jump over to the palette then, we've got all the colours and various bits in there, but what we're going to do here is mix up some quite strong colours for this, some quite deep colours. I'm probably going to use the size 10 brush, and we're going to paint in some mountains across the horizon kind of thing. If you've got primary colours, red, yellow and blue, they are fine to use here. Those three primary colours work rather well, and you can mix blue with red to make purple, add a bit of yellow, and you're going to get the grey. Now I have got my own version of grey ready made, and it's called natural grey, so we're going to have that there. It's the same colours I just described, but it's a very common colour to have in place. So I want to use that grey quite strong. I've also got here the orange from the sky, okay? So that's quite important for these mountains. And it's going to work quite nice here because it's going to give me the chance to paint in these mountains with strength in colour. So that's size 10 brush, not being afraid of the dark here. Don't be afraid of the dark, as we keep telling our children. And we're going to go in, make sure that tape is fairly well stuck. I'm not worried if it creeps down the back. It will creep down the back, I'll be honest with you, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm going to go for it. Look at that. Oh, you've ruined it. And just get some little mountainous effects, get some peaks coming down. Watch out for nipples. Did I really say that? I know what I meant. And bring it in. Beautiful, look at that. And go up. This will make a lovely little sunset or sunrise. You know, it's kind of optional. We've got the control to decide what it is, what time of day it is. Your picture, you can play whatever you want to. So that's going to go down. It's dropped quite low there. Now, as we are getting lower down in this, we're going to come back into the palette. I'm cleaning the brush there, and we're going to go for the orange, which is natural orange, the same one we've just been using actually in the sky. So there's the orange. And that's going to be nice. You can see it right here. That's going to be really nice to introduce into this and mix with the grey. And that's the secret. I mean, you can see literally I'm scrubbing it, aren't I? I'm bringing the paint in. Just want to make sure I've got enough colour to do the job. Bring it down. There we go. Now it's important at this stage that you spend a bit of time mixing it all together on the page and making sure that the grey blends in with the orange. Okay. Why is that important? Well, that's important because we're now going to use a plastic card which we've got hanging around to add some scrapey texture to these mountains. One of my favourite things to do, I've got this one, it's a key card from a tell, and we're going to use that at the flat edge of this card. I love this. Now please remember the paint will be creeping down the back. It's kind of just inevitable. We'll start off here. We'll put that over the sky and we'll scrape down with a bit of character. Definitely want to practice. Look where the paint's gathered. Make sure you clean it every time. That way you get that lovely edge on there. This will be a nice one. Ease that pressure off as you come down, wipe it on the tissue, and then obviously here we'll sort of change sides a little bit. Do a U-turn over there, because that's where be a little bit finer there. That's where the sun, it's where the sun's catching, right? For these little areas of rocky texture. So that's what it reminds me of. It's like a rocky texture, isn't it? Quite effective. Once you get into the flow of doing this, you'll enjoy it. But the thing to do is not to put too much pressure on yourself. Don't put too much pressure on your card. People put too much pressure on sometimes, so that's a lovely little trick. I'll always like to see that effect. While that's having a moment to dry, I'm going to come back to the palette here, and we're just going to use that's the size 6 brush. I'm using a much smaller brush. I'm diluting the grey quite a bit here. Look, much paler on the tissue a couple of times like that. So I've just tapped it on the kitchen paper there because I want to paint in some distance. I want to go distant across here. So working up from this area here, and you can see that transparency, can't you? The mist, we're creating a bit of depth here. Clean the brush really, really well. Give it a couple of taps on tissue. And then just use that little bit of water that's on your brush just to soften it down. Just water, nothing else. I'm literally scrubbing it forward and back. Now, do expect a little bit of the background colour to lift up, because that's quite normal for that to happen. But that looks good, don't it? We'll very gently take the tape off. This is where you're going to see a little bit of seepage. Okay, but we're going to sharpen it up. Being very careful. Keep an eye on the back of the tape for rips, but we've got a little bit of a, if you think about that, you look at that, it looks like a bit of a lake, don't it? You've got the big sky and the lake that's coming down to meet it. That looks really, really nice. Now I want to give this a few moments to actually dry. It needs to dry off a little bit here. And while it is drying off, let me tell you about, looking nice, that, isn't it? Looks really good. It's coming together well. Yeah, while it's drying off, let me tell you about the upcoming live virtual watercolour workshop that I've got coming up this weekend. So this weekend of the, it's actually on the 4th of February. So the 4th of February 2024, I'm teaching a live group around the world. You can take part. It's £10 UK, roughly $12 US, probably about 15 Canadian dollars. About 12 euros. People take part in these things from all around the world, they really do. And it's a virtual workshop, so rather than me working at this kind of speed, this kind of demo speed, it's very much broken down into beautiful step by step. Here is the information. Sunday the 4th of February 24, paint snowdrops by a beautiful stream and woodland with stunning silver birch trees in watercolour. Just look at those images, top left, top right of the screen. You can clearly see how nice that's looking. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It's good because you can watch it live or at any time, so you don't have to be there necessarily in person, because once you've bought this thing, you keep it forever. It gets attached to your account. It gets delivered by email. So all the information, of course, is below if you'd like to book on. If you can't make it to that one, again, like I say, it doesn't matter if you can't be there live, but if you want to do a live workshop with me, jump on the website. Here it is, all the W's, watercolour.tv. Have a look at the top of the screen for the upcoming one. You can see it flashing turquoise and white there. If you click on that button, hover over that button, that will tell you the date of the upcoming one. And you can see here the 4th of Feb is Paint Snowdrops by a beautiful stream and woodland with stunning silver birch trees, a lovely watercolour vignette. Now, if I was to click on the workshop menu, which I've highlighted blue, you can see the option that says live virtual workshops. That's where you go to have a look at the ones that are up and coming. We've also got one on the 11th of February 2024, and this is going to be a bit of a one-off special. Paint the world famous red arrows in display. Yes, we're going to paint the red arrows in the sky doing their wonderful stuff, so that's going to be a lovely one. all broken down, all for £10. Watch live at any time. So again, that is definitely one that you need to be having a look at. It's going to be an absolute belter. Now, I was talking there while things were drying, so I've actually got the paintings rested on the top of the radiator here because it's pretty cold today. Here it is. I reckon it's dry enough. It's dry enough to move on. Let's get back to this. Here we go. Looking good, right? So the next thing I want to do is add another little bit of tape, actually. So I'm going to put more tape on. Again, long enough to go across. It's nice and dry here. Again, do make sure you do a good job of removing stickiness. We don't want rips. Great painting for beginners we're doing here. We're going to put that a little bit lower, probably about there, and stick it down really, really, really well. And then I'm going to put a line of trees across there. We're going to use a slightly different brush here, okay? So if we jump over to the palette, we're not going to be using a standard brush. We're going to be using a tree and texture brush. Now I've got those in this big stash of where your light's coming from. So tree and texture brush, probably the medium one, okay? So you can see here, Matthew Palmer tree and texture brush medium. A lovely brush for stippling, okay? It's quite a dark picture. I'm going to use some natural green. Now these greens that I've designed are designed to replicate nature. They're really nice. All the materials, by the way, are available on the website, so do check out the website, which is at the bottom corner of your screen. And we're going to use that green with some of that grey. So we'll start with the green and just a little bit of water. I mean, you can see how thick that paint is. It's almost acrylic, right? But we're going to mix it into the brush, quite heavy. Don't be afraid to be dark here. And we give it a bit of a stipple, okay? We're literally stippling the brush. It's good to have a bit of kitchen paper to remove the excess. Beautiful. But if you look at that brush now, as I give it a stipple, can you see how it's gone a little bit spiky? A little bit spiky, look. Can't go wrong, can you? And then we can work along this horizon line. I'm going to tilt this up a little bit so you can see better what we're going to do here. And we can do some of these trees quite tall. We can do a nice tall one here. Now, I don't want to go darker with these, so don't worry, because it would be quite dark. Work along this horizon. So I'm just putting a layer of this dark green on first. It's quite a deep colour, as you can probably tell. I'm working very thick, almost like acrylic consistency. And with little taps of the brush, you get that sort of leaf effect. And it sort of hides the bottom of the picture. I'm literally, every time I sort of pop back into the palette, I'm stippling the brush as I do this. Nice and deep. And then we'll start to go a little bit higher as we come across this side. Everything's nice and dry now, you see. We'll just bring that down. We'll go a little bit higher there. It sort of hides what you've done, but that's okay. It's all good. You see where I've sort of risen up a little bit here on those edges. Now that's not quite dark enough for the picture because it's just this sunset effect. So we are going to go darker now. So straight into grey. Don't be afraid of it. But he's terrified. Bring it in. You get some darkness at the bottom. Don't be afraid of the dark. You know what I mean by that, don't you? I've not even cleaned my brush. I've just gone straight in to put the dark in. I will put some branches in these, by the way. But we're not there yet. We're working. This consistency is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous here. Nice and deep. Spend a bit of time on those edges. But that is really thick stuff. Got some proper drama to that. Look at it. Very powerful indeed. There we go. Just working on the edges a little bit. Darker the better. Now, loitering at the back of the studio, at the back of me, is these little palette knife things. I mean, some of these have seen a lot of action. You can see these flexible little knife things here. They are really nice things actually, because they've got that flexibility. They're often used in things like oil paint, acrylic, that kind of thing, but we're going to use it here in the trees to put some branches in. Because the paint is so heavy, we can do it quite nicely. So we're going to go in, and hopefully you can see this nice and clear, but we're going to scrape off the colour, a bit like we did with the, turn it around if you need to as well. A bit like you did with the plastic card, scraping off. I mean, you can use the corner of a plastic card here, but I'm using this. It's quite addictive, this. Always reminds me of silver birch trees, you know? If I do a few little flicks going up here like this, just random little bits of scratches. Because it's the sort of, it's the summer, it's the woodland by the lake. It's hitting it at the right time with this. It's getting it just at the right time where it looks effective. I wouldn't expect to see many branches on the smaller trees, but you can sneak a few in. You can use a pen knife, you know, if you get it just at the right time. Obviously being careful whatever knife you use, but it's a nice one to do. Makes for quite a nice effect, don't it, that? Squeaky. There we go. I like that. It's a really nice effect to do, and it looks really effective. Again, it's all just done using that nice palette knife there, you know. So a useful little tool to have. And look how effective that started to give it, sort of framing the picture. Let's very carefully now take the tape away. You've got to be so careful at this. If it starts to go white at the back, it's ripping, so go the other way. You can use a heat gun or a hairdryer to heat it up to loosen the adhesive. Obviously careful around water. But I'm conscious of looking at the back of the tape, and if it goes a little bit white, I know it's ripping like there, but that'll come out in wash. But look how clean that is. Crisp and clean edge. You can see that, can't you? Let me pop that under there to help the light, studio lights reflect. But that is making quite a nice picture. We're going to reflect all this now in the lake. Great picture, like I said, if you're a beginner, really nice one for you to have a go at. And I would encourage anybody to try this. It's a great starting picture, or if you've just got half an hour to spare, something like this is really good fun. Also, you know, just simply working from your imagination is a great way to do watercolors. Let's get back to this. Just working from your mind. We all have stressful weeks. We all have stressful days. There's no better escapism than something like this. It's true. Size 10 brush, size 10 brush. What colours we're going to use here? Well, I want to darken the water. We've got the orange from the sky, so we'll take some of that. It's gone a bit browny, I'll be honest with you, because of the dirty water and various things. It's all good, it's all good. We've got that first. And basically just add in a few horizontal lines across the water with this orange. Tapping it on tissue though will control the flow. Yes, we shall get the reflection of the sun a little bit later, but just bringing in some of the colours from the sky. Now things are nice and dry. I'm going to reflect those trees as well. Nice horizontal lines going across. Don't be afraid of the colour. There we are. To clean the brush, I might even just bring a little bit of the red in that, very subtle bit of red. I've got the kitchen paper just to one side. I keep tapping my brush on it. It just helps to control the flow of the paint on the paper. A little bit of red. I suppose I'm kind of guessing where the red actually is on the sky and trying to match it in the water. So that's quite nice. That's bringing those colours down from the sky into the water. Quite vibrant. Now I've just got a damp brush which I've tapped on tissue. You can see me doing that on the screen there, and then giving it a bit of a tap and a bit of a blend. It's now time to actually go darker. So for this we want to bring in more of the mountain colours, more of the grey, which we've got here. Natural grey. Again, you can mix the grey from primary colours. My website, Watercolour TV, does have some lessons on how to use primary colours. So if you're a member of Watercolour TV, do have a look at some of the lessons and some of the printable worksheets that we've got on there. There's thousands of hours of tuition on Watercolour TV, so do check it out. But have a look, don't be afraid of that. And then what we're going to do here is start to reflect darkness. Before there was darkness, there was light. Bring it in. Look how that's reflecting that. I love it. It's good, isn't it? And it's all done with grey. Beautiful, beautiful colours for the grey there. Get a bit more colour there. Excuse-moi. Bit of a tap on tissue. It's nice, but it's a bit damp. Is it me or is it moist? A little bit damp. Just a smidgen. Thinking of the heights of not only the trees, but the mountains here. Bring it across. Can't go wrong, can you? Hey? Keep picking up more colour from the grey and mixing it in and tapping it on tissue. Are you with me? Are you on the same page as me? I love that. I think the effect it starts to create is brilliant. It really is lovely. I would bring some green into that as well. So we've got the green here that we used in the trees. It's gone a bit dry, so adding a bit of water will rejuvenate it. I'm a professional. But a bit of green. I don't know whether you're going to see green that much in there, but I feel for balance. You've got to balance your light and your darks. Just a bit of green just helps to keep it all in. Especially somewhere like this where you've got that real contrast between the colours. A bit of green paint will go down a treat there. Isn't that nice? Love it. Ready for some reflections of those trees. Brilliant. Now, while that is having a bit of time to dry, what we're going to do is take a small brush, size 6 brush. Let's get more grey. We want to go darker here, so more natural grey, probably a bit more of a green as well, to be fair. There it is. I'll take the green and we're going to mix it with the grey, so you're making a real dark colour here, a very dark colour. I mean, that is almost, it looks grey, but it's got a bit of green in it, which is alright. Makes more sense to me. Rotation, excuse me, rotation, talking too much, yeah, we know. Someone put a comment on my videos once saying, Matthew, I love your paintings, but you talk too much. You're probably falling asleep, you see. So we'll just kind of wipe off the excess. But look at that brush, it's quite pointy. Again, that's the small super point. It's a good quality size 6 brush, it is. And what we're going to do with this, we're going to paint in some tall trees. We'll get one coming down here. A line that goes down the middle. These pine trees. It's not a pine tree. When has there been a pine tree? Well, it will be when we do some of this. We'll do some of this. Remember, this colour's juicy, it's thick, it's heavy. I'm going to do some of that on the side of it. We will put some highlights in this, reflections and various things. But I always think something like this would be silhouetting against the sun, if you think about it. But you can see I'm getting thinner as I get to the tip of the tree. Now that would reflect, wouldn't it? Yeah. So we can continue that formula. Let's jump over this side here. Let's get one, maybe have a couple over this side. I think might be nice. It'll frame the picture, this. So we'll do one there. Again, we'll do the one side at a time job. And then over this side. And again, reflection. Coming in. I'm going to come back to this one and do that a bit more of a reflection there as well. And even just run some of that across the horizon. So looking good. Now that really realistically does need some time to dry. So I'll put the brush down. What I want to do is I'm going to pop this on the little heater at the back and give it a moment to dry. And again, let me just sort of tell you a little bit about the old Watercolor TV. So if you enjoy your watercolor painting and you want to learn with me, it's all easy going. This is a demo to get you started. But if you want to know a little bit more, Watercolor TV is a great place to do it because it's full to the rafters of step-by-step tuition. There's 15 years worth of tuition on there, loads of online tutorials for you to enjoy, loads of printable worksheets. You can see it right here. If we go onto the website, so have a look. If we click on lessons, you can see all the latest lessons that we've got, and these are part of the membership, so you have to be a member of Watercolor TV. So the latest one that we've just put on there was literally this one here, which went on a couple of days ago as I'm recording this, and I can show you a little preview. So this is how to paint a nice parrot in watercolors. I'll turn the music down, and you can see it's all really lovely produced stuff, and it's a great way to enjoy watercolor painting that you can watch. It's all in HD, so you can watch it again and again and again. There's printable versions of the projects as well, and it is such a nice thing to enjoy. If I come down to here, you can even see all the description behind it. So it's a lovely little resource, is Watercolor TV. So simply head onto the website, click on the memberships, have a look at all the memberships. You can have a lifetime membership, you can have a monthly membership. There's some free videos to enjoy there as well. Check those out. So monthly, annual, lifetime, or even gift membership. So a really nice way to enjoy a bit of watercolour painting. Is this dry? Almost. It's dry enough to move on, I think. I'm going to put a little bit of detail in now, so let's get back to the picture here. Let's put some little final bits and bobs to this picture then. So I want to put some birds in the sky, because that's always good, isn't it? We do like the old birds. Put some little birds fluttering around in the actual sky. So for this, you might want to be using something a bit finer, brush-wise, because that is a little bit on the big side, that one. So what I've got here is a lovely brush called the Matthew Palmer Branch and Detail brush, which is a lovely pointy brush, really nice for doing those little final bits of detail that we all enjoy in our paintings. And we're going to use the grey. Now, the grey is really strong. Don't be afraid to make it quite strong. Make it nice and deep. And if you look at the brush, you can actually see it's the rigger brush internally. Get the camera to come close in on that. It's a rigger brush internally, but surrounded by a larger brush. Now that larger brush is actually a size 10, that tapers to a point, and the point is that you load up this part and you hold it like a pen, and you can use it for doing lovely detail. Really nice little thing to have in your toolbox, in your watercolor toolbox. So I encourage you to pick some of those up. Again, everything is on the website for you to have a look at. So what would I do with this brush? Well, I'd pop some little bits of detail on. I'd be adding some little birds and things in the sky, some bearded choughs, some seagulls or whatever you decide. A little gap between the wings. Looks effective. Those three birds just fluttering away. Looks really nice, don't it? It does actually look quite nice if you was to put some of these over the sun. Just sort of sweeping in. It gives a bit of character. I can use this brush as well because it is like a pen. I can use it just to sharpen up a few little bits and bobs on some of the edges. Add a bit of character to it. But really, I'm at a stage where I need to put some light in this. I want some light from the sun. And we're going to do this in a couple of stages. So I've got some kitchen paper back here. I want to take a bit of kitchen paper. The last of the Christmas stock. It's got the stars on it. And we're going to use this with another cool little brush, which we've got over in the palette there. And it's called, if I can find it in the stash, there you go, it's a Matthew Palmer lift out brush. This one is the extra large one. Nice and clean in the water. It doesn't matter that the water looks like the River Thames. Just don't know. There's a shopping trolley in there. Oh, look at the bottom there. Can you see it? There's an old Ford Escort down there. Mark II as well. That's worth a mint. Need to get it out of there. But a bit of... Matthew, get on with it. Just get a bit of water, squeeze it through fingers. Beautiful, look at that. So it goes nice and pointed. Don't dry the brush off, because otherwise you can't get the effect that we're looking for. And what we are looking for is a lift out effect. We're looking for a lift out effect. So it's all just about dry enough to do. So where the sun is, we're going to come down here and we're going to put the brush on. Let me do it this way. I think it'll be easier to do it this way. So line it up and we're going to come down. Look how the brush has gone a bit dark on the edge. Can you see that? It's picking the colour up. Now, once you've done a little bit of this, you take your tissue and you do that. You see it starting to come away. Now, we can really go for this because we can go and we can do the brush on a horizontal now to really wash it out. There's a lot of paint there. There really is a lot of paint. Again, make sure things are pretty in line. And then give it a tap. Look how that's coming off, beautiful. So it's going to add, we've got a lot of darkness to play with, which means we can now spend time with a lift out brush, Matthew Palmer lift out brush, and we can wash away some lovely highlights. Now I'm doing it this way just because it's easier to get the brush in. Look how nice that is. You can see it, can't you? Instant effect there. Beautiful. Really nice that. So horizontal. Bring it as far down as you want. Comes off with ease. Just water through the fingers. And of course we can do a few of these elsewhere, some individual lines. Keep putting a few highlights in. Stretch them over a little bit. Once you've done 3 or 4, wipe it with tissue and the paint just comes off. If you do it a second time with the brush, it comes off even more. So it comes off even further. The more you scrub, quite simply, the more comes off from it. And that's the secret to this. So over here, there's a lot of darkness over here. So again, really effective at taking away some lovely highlights. We are going to go even lighter with the highlights in a minute too. But just before we do, let me just sort of recap how to use the brush, because I think people struggle with it. So water through the fingers. You need water on the brush, but not too much. If you wipe it through tissue, you're going to remove too much paint. Okay. I want to lighten the edge of this tree, especially this one, because it's really close to the sun. Press it firmly. Look how it's taking the paint off. We can reflect that a little bit. You see a reflection? It's creating a little reflection of that tall tree. I suppose I could do the same over here as well. There's a lot of paint there. I mean, that's really pure paint. Nothing saying you can't use pure paint, especially on something as dramatic as this. Just catches a little bit of light. I'm also going to do some downward lines to reflect some of the trees. Not necessarily all of them, but some of them. But when you look at the brush, you can see the paint coming off. That's why the brush is that colour. Get a bit more reflection coming down from there. Well, now if we want to go even lighter, then that's where you can start to use something like a craft knife. I'm looking for a sharp craft knife here. I'm looking for something that's quite sharp, and some of these have been used a lot. So a really sharp, that was quite good. I've got a sharp knife there, okay, a real sharp bladed craft knife, and you can really get a lovely sense of sparkle to something like a picture like this, especially across that water line. So if I take this knife here and actually use the blade of it, scrape off, you can do a little bit lower down as well. Now, never do this over damp paint, only over dry. So it's quite often worth giving it a blast before you do this, but it does, see that's a little bit wet there, that's a bit damp. So what I'm going to use here is I've got a heat gun. Got this little heat gun here which I use. I want to turn that on. That's giving it a lovely dry there, which means I can quite happily add some final scratches. And look how nice it is, it's scraping off paint. You have to be quite aggressive with it, and you find that the knife works better one way versus the other. So sometimes it's better with the blade pointing down, Sometimes it's better with the blade pointing up. But look how effective that is. That is really nice, isn't it, that? And yeah, you can see there that the knife is really pointy. Like, let's get the camera to focus on that. It's a really pointy knife, and I'm using literally this part of it just here. So I'm physically using the blade of it to actually scrape the paper, and the effect is great. The effect is really nice. Especially where that sun is, you can really make it look nice and bright. It's like illuminating, but it's really good across the water's edge, as we mentioned. Don't be afraid to use it. Make sure the paper is dry, otherwise it tears more. I keep picking the bit of fluff off the end. Puts a lovely sparkle effect on it. And it's all done using a lovely craft knife, which works really, 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 really well. It's a great little addition to your watercolour stash. It really is. I've got a frame here. I've got a mount. You can't beat a good mount, can you? Oh. Back to this. Pop the mount on. And that's made a rather pleasing watercolour. Look at that, love it, really enjoyed that. It's been a nice one to do, folks. Just using these very basic materials that we've got over here, you can produce some beautiful watercolours. Give it a go, enjoy your painting. You don't need much to do watercolour painting. It's very minimal materials. Primary colours you can do this picture with ease. You don't need a great amount, if we're being completely honest. And there you go, that's the finished pictures. Thanks for watching. Do make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon. Take care, everybody, and happy painting.